Okay, good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Ben Reisinger. I'm the professor of J560 Online Public Relations. This is a graduate class in the IU School of Journalism and Public Relations, which is also now a part of the IU School of Liberal Arts. So again, this is our weekly Google Plus chat and hangout where we talk about social media, we talk about trends, and just things that you need to know as communications and PR professionals. So I'm going to welcome our first guest speaker of the semester. I actually will have several other guest speakers come on just to let you guys know. But we were talking with Rodger Johnson, and he is how do you say it, Roger? Is it social relevant or social
It's
relevant?
it's socially relevant on Twitter, yeah.
Soci relevant. Okay, so
Yeah.
SOCI relevant on Twitter. And Rodger Johnson is a PR professional in the Indianapolis area. And actually, for you guys in our class, Rodger has gone through this exact same major. He is a graduate of the IUPUI Public Relations program for his master's degree. So we love having him on as an alumni and stuff like that. And Rodger, I met Rodger probably 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know when it was. It was something like
Been a
that.
while, yeah.
And we just kind of kept in touch and things like that. And I love it when Rodger comes on and talks with students because I was telling a couple of you guys beforehand, the guy knows his stuff. He's a great PR mind. He's a great digital mind. And tonight he's going to talk about PR, how that kind of works with advocacy, and then how that kind of switches right around into using it in the digital realm. So I'm going to turn it over to Rodger Johnson, and welcome and thank you for being here, my friend.
Sure, thank you very much. So, how many of you guys have really kind of worked in advocacy before, or influencer relations before in public relations? Has anybody done that yet?
And what do you mean by influencer, just to let everybody know?
Oh, well, influencer relations in the traditional sense of working with legislatures, um, excuse me, vote. Try that again. People who are voted into office. I lost my train of thought there. Those types of people, other types of influential people like celebrities, journalists and stuff like that who have a large following. So people have been working with those before. All right.
I have a little bit, but not a lot. I've only had one client like that. So,
Well, one of the interesting things with advocates or people who are advocates is their disposition to a certain issue or to a certain problem. Um, and what we tend to think about in public relations and in marketing is we tend to use this word called audience. Okay, and if you've read anything from Grunig and Hunt, you'll know that audience is a word that is misused in our profession. And so what they use is the word publics. And one of the types of publics that I think that are really interesting to work with are what we call advocates. Um, and I worked with advocates at Roche Diagnostics, and I'll use that kind of as a case study here in a few seconds. But I want to kind of outline what an advocate is. And I've made some notes here, and I'm also blind, almost. I have glasses. They're on top of my head. They're doing me really good up there. Um, so advocates, you're going to see a theme here really quick about advocates. So the first thing that advocates do is they're actively promoting some issue or some problem, or they're promoting actively, something about a brand or something like that, and they're acting in a unified group towards a specific goal. So recently, and I'll talk more about this later. Recently, you've probably read in the newspapers how Uber is getting some blowback in Portland, and they got kicked out of Portland.
yeah, Portland seized their cars or something like that. I read they were
What's
so
that?
upset about it. They seized the cars that the Uber drivers were driving.
Did they seize them really?
Yeah, I read that. It was like a headline last night or something like
Wow.
that, that I read.
Wow.
Yeah, they were ticked.
Really? Wow. That's now I haven't heard that. I heard that Uber stopped.
Let me try
Stopped.
to find it.
They stopped practicing, or they stopped doing business in Portland until April 1st, I think, or April 9th, um, so that they could comply with Portland's rules on public transportation. But we'll talk more
sorry,
about that.
it's not that. It's in Cape Town.
Oh, in Cape Town.
Sorry. Uber's in trouble again. 34 drivers in Cape Town, South Africa, have their cars impounded after caught driving without a metered taxi permit. So my apologies. It was in Portland.
Yeah.
It was South Africa.
Well, now I found today that in Thailand, the Thai government has completely banned all app-based riding or ride-sharing or businesses in Thailand. So Uber, Lyft, or any of the others out there can't do business in Thailand.
Wow.
It's pretty awesome.
So
we'll talk more about Uber in Portland in just a minute. So what's interesting about advocates and advocacy is that they're actively engaged in some sort of activity that revolves around an issue. And so when we think about creating a campaign to engage these advocates, it can be part of a larger campaign, or it can be the campaign itself.
So are we
for
talking
example,
digital media or traditional, or a blend of both?
a blend of both.
Okay.
So if we have a larger communication strategy that's taking into account print and traditional advertising and traditional types of PR activity, then advocacy can be a part of that. In addition to that, and the digital side. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Or advocacy could just be the campaign. So here are kind of the key factors that distinguish advocates from all the rest of people. First of all, they're organizing, or they're organized, and we'll see that in the Portland case. And that means that they're banded together for some cause. So Grunick says that on one level of involvement, or one's level of involvement determines whether we can identify a group of people as advocates. So their level of involvement is really important, and their behavioral disposition is really important when we go to identify them. And so there are two types of advocates, and I like to call the first type the almost advocates, and the other type we call them the bona fide advocates. So what's interesting about the almost advocates is that they're people who perceive themselves as involved in a situation. Okay, so think about the taxi drivers in Portland. They're advocates because they're involved in the situation, because Uber's coming into the market is directly impacting their business. And so they're likely to seek out information because to justify their own behavior. Okay, but it's just to justify it and to move them to a different stage. They're not actually involved yet. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but would you consider that awareness then? Trying to more, it's advocating, but it's kind of an awareness campaign.
Well, I would say that the almost advocates are already aware.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that they're seeking out information. Okay, they're going out after the information, which is a behavior change from people who are just aware of things. People who are aware of things are passively taking in that information. And they can be aware of stuff, but not actively engage a situation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay.
So they're seeking that information because they need that to justify the behavior that they're about to take. The key word is they're about to take. Mm-hmm. And then the bona fide advocates, those are the people who are actively seeking out information, and they're using that information to engage an issue. Okay, so they're already organized, and they're already engaging that issue. And what's interesting with those bona fide advocates is those are the ones that you want to empower even more if you're a public relations professional, or engage them in such a way that you can create a relationship with them, with your organization. And I'll give you an example of that with Roche in just a minute. So what's interesting about kind of setting the foundation for this is when we think about crises, or we think about issue management. So have you guys studied issue management yet?
Some might have, some might have not. I'm not quite sure where everybody is in the, you know,
So issue management is a life cycle. All right. So we all have issues that reoccur, and they rise and fall in a cycle. So an issue can become a crisis, and it becomes a crisis. We deal with it, and then it drops back down into an issue, but it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so one of the interesting things with advocacy public relations is that you have to be continuously engaged with these people all the time. And so this is a long-term relationship. This is a marriage, for better or for worse, in sickness and health, until death do you part, including all the zits. Okay? So that's what's that?
No, I just said, woo, somebody just dinged. I don't know what that was.
Oh, that's me dinging here. I'll turn it. And I just dropped my iPhone. Whoops.
It's all right.
Turn it off here. Sorry about that. So that's advocacy. That's those types of people. So let's kind of look at the Portland, Oregon thing. And if you're near, well, you are near your computer. So if you want to Google some of this stuff and look at the press releases and everything that went out about Portland and Uber, I'll let you guys do that. But one of the interesting things that happened in Portland, Oregon, is that the taxi drivers and other public transportation officials and workers created the Transportation Fairness Alliance. So they named themselves. So this group of people that were already providing public transportation in Portland formed the Transportation Fairness Alliance. So those people right there, just by naming themselves and organizing, are advocates.
Yep.
Okay. And they're advocate. And in fact, the Transportation Fairness Alliance is a group of 6 Portland cab companies that came together to form it, which is kind of interesting. So the characteristics are that they're active. They're actively engaging the city of Portland. Uh-oh. Someone's dog went crazy.
My bad. Dogs.
And my dog's at my brother's right now, so we're good. So they're actively engaging, all right, and for the Transportation Fairness Alliance, they're engaging the city. They're engaging the city of Portland, all right, and those officials. They're organized, and you know that they're organized because they typically name themselves as well, and they're using information to engage in issues. So the Transportation Fairness Alliance created a rally, or they organized a rally to educate the people about the safety concerns that they had with Uber coming into Portland. And that's interesting because they're using that information to educate people. So essentially what happened is that through this effort, they drove Uber out of Portland as far as a business goes. So Uber no longer operates in Portland anymore. Looks like Jonathan Springer open captured a smile of me.
Yeah, nice.
Oh my, I hope that doesn't show up on YouTube.
I just took a picture of you, buddy.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
So listen to one of these headlines that came from January 12th, 2015 about Portland. And this really kind of encapsulates the Transportation Fairness Alliance's power as far as advocates. And here's what the headline says. It says, Portland taxi companies plan anti-Uber demonstration during Tuesday evening commute. All right? So they're planning to disrupt the evening commute for the purpose of demonstrating that they're against Uber.
Wow.
That's organization right there.
And how did they use digital media to help disseminate this and throw this out, social and stuff like that?
Yeah, you can check out the Transportation Alliance's Twitter account and stuff like that out there.
I'm gonna try to find it, you guys, and I'll put it in the group chat on the right. So
yeah.
Okay.
So that's one example of advocacy, and one of the things that I don't think Uber's doing is they're not engaging the Transportation Fairness Alliance in a productive way in Portland. Instead, what they did was they just pulled out of the city. Okay, and that's not good PR. And we're finding that Uber, as interesting of a company as it is, doesn't have good PR. They're not engaging these people in a way that I think is important for them and their company, okay, and for their community relations as well. So let's contrast that with a different example, and it's one that I worked on myself at Roche Diagnostics. So back in 2009, I was hired on contract to come into Roche and work with the global marketing team.
That's awesome.
And to create their social media strategy. And during that time, we were also launching a new product, a new meter and strip that was supposed to be the most sophisticated meter and strip for people with diabetes on the market. Unfortunately, the FDA did not like what we were doing. And so they created pseudoscience, a pseudoscientific report that basically was going to tell the public that our meter and strip was not good at all, and in fact, that it would kill people if they used it. All right, that's pretty harsh. Huh?
Yeah, that's not good at all.
Yeah, it's not good at all. So their report said that our meter and strip had a maltose interference. Now, I don't know all the science behind this, but basically, they said that this interference would give people with diabetes a false reading, and if they get a false reading, then their blood sugar can spike or drop or something like that, and that causes some serious problems for them, perhaps even death, or coma or death. Either one of them is not good. So while we were developing our social media strategy, we also created a blogger summit, and we identified 29 influential bloggers in North America that were mainly they were type 1 and type 2 diabetes, or people with diabetes. And the interesting thing with them is they had large followings of people, and they were extremely influential. And in fact, the queen bee of them all, her name is Amy Tendrich, and you can find her on Diabetes Mine. That's Diabetes M-I-N-E. She has a blog and a Twitter account, Facebook, all that good stuff. She was the queen bee of everything. She was the person who had the most influence in North America for people with diabetes online. And so we engaged her among 28 other people. And then we created, like I said, the Blogger Summit. And what we did with that is we brought all of these bloggers to the Roche campus in Indianapolis for a 2-day event.
That's awesome.
It was really cool, and Julie Vincent was a part of that.
Cool.
And also Rob Mueller, if you know those folks in the community. So basically, what we did for that 2 days was it was a 2-day rally / time where we got to really understand what was happening with social media and people with diabetes, what people were really talking about out there. It was really a huge focus group for 2 days. And what was interesting was the senior management of Roche, we're talking about the CEO, the vice presidents of marketing, they actually came and they listened. They didn't say a word. And they took some heat from these people, which was interesting. And from that, what we created was a social media manifesto. All right, and this manifesto was a combination of all of that information and all of that data that we learned from the summit, and we codified that, and we allowed them to approve it. So if they approved it and they said, yeah, we agree with this, then this is the way we're going to act in social media with you. This is going to be our contract with you in our relationship as we move forward. And that was really important to developing advocates and developing relationships with advocates. So in order to continue that relationship and grow it, what we did was we created a social media roundtable. And that included the top bloggers in our community, as well as Roche marketing teams, or a Roche marketing team, and the CEO of Roche Diagnostics, and a VP or two. And I think Julie Vincent was on it as well. So we had this group of people, both inside the organization and outside the organization, that continued to foster and grow this relationship. And so the manifesto became this living document that we would publish about every 6 months with additions, subtractions, and different types of values, shared values that we were sharing with the other people out there in social media in the world. So what was interesting about that was, as that relationship developed, we realized that the FDA was going to release this report about the meter and strip combination, and we knew that their content was false.
Really?
Yeah, we knew. Yeah, our scientists looked. They gave us the report before they released it and said, we're going to release this before you launch your meter and strip, because we don't want your meter and strip to be popular or something like that. We think that there's a problem with it. And what's interesting is what I learned is that there's a lot of politics in the FDA. And so during the Bush administration, Roche had a lot of people in the FDA, and then when the Obama administration came in, some people get kicked out, some people stay. Well, we got kicked out. You know, the people from our company got kicked out. So what's interesting about that is we took the report to our scientists, and the scientists said, well, this is totally bogus. Here's what really happens with this maltose interference. So what we did was we created a one-page talking points document, all right, to outline our stance. And instead of doing the traditional thing of giving this to the media when the FDA released their report, about a week before the report was released, we released our report along with the FDA report to our 29 different bloggers.
Because you knew that they would have the reach and that they're going to blog about it and put it out, and you knew, man, we're going to hit more people up than we could.
Right.
We just throw this out to the media. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So what they started to do a week before the FDA ever decided to release this, and they didn't say that we couldn't release it. That was kind of dumb on them. You know. We released it, and our blogger started writing about it and started to share this information. And because we had developed this rapport with them, they started to promote our side of the story first before the FDA, and they started to downplay the FDA's report. And Amy Tendrich was instrumental in this because she was let me try this again. She was an investigative reporter for the San Francisco Chronicle, I think that's the newspaper out there, before she went on her own to start Diabetes Mind. So with that, when the FDA finally released the report, they were expecting, you know, some big fanfare through big media. And guess what happened?
The exact opposite, right?
The exact opposite. We got crickets. All right. They got crickets. There was no mention of them in the media and the report, but there was mention of Roche in the media, all right, and they called out our influencers, or our advocates,
Slash
right?
bloggers, yeah.
Slash bloggers. And so we had this entire army of regular people that were supporting Roche and this new product, and basically telling everybody that the FDA has no idea what they're talking about, which we know that most government agencies have no idea what they're talking about, right?
Awesome, yeah, and they use digital media to spread their influence around the
Yeah.
country and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for that week up to the official launch, what happened? They were blogging about this stuff. They were tweeting about this stuff. They were sharing it on Facebook. They were sharing it through their social communities like Two Diabetes, and it just spread like a wildfire. And it was a wildfire that totally took the government by surprise, which is typically what wildfires do.
Right.
So we organized those people, but and in doing that, what happened was we listened to them. We adopted some shared values with them. We internalized those values with the manifesto, and then we had ongoing relationships with them and engagement through kind of a governance process, which actually has become a worldwide movement now. So Roche is leading the world right now, still,
Right.
in this area.
And part of their success again was using these 20, what did you say, 26 or 29
29
media bloggers,
Right.
were advocates or experts
Right.
on diabetes to help push that along. I mean, I think that's fantastic. I love it when people have tweet teams or blog teams, things like that, to help spread that message.
Yeah, I mean, it was really fantastic. And kind of an interesting side note, we were the night before the FDA released the report, we literally camped out in the Roche headquarters. We had cots that we were taking turns sleeping on.
Yeah.
For like 48 hours up to the release, just in case
Need to be there.
something hit the fan.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. It's awesome.
So let's pull this back to social media. So when you have advocates plus social media, that really equals digital PR. That equals digital PR because social media, blogging and all that stuff, that amplifies advocacy to reach more people. Okay, so it's kind of like a brush fire effect. With social media, what you can do and how that brush fire effect kind of grows is through the contacts, it's through information, and it's through mobilizing people. So we had people that weren't influential that were blogging about this stuff that we didn't even invite to the social media summit to begin with.
To spread from one to the other through the diabetes community, right?
Right, absolutely. It even went beyond the diabetes community.
Right, right.
All right. So in digital PR, what you want to do is you want to use social tools to galvanize people toward a specific goal or in a specific issue. And really the tools that they use, the most used tools are your typical things that we know about: Facebook, Twitter, blogs, email, and even text messaging. We don't think that is a social tool, but now it really is a social tool where you can text multiple people information, and there's actually companies that do that now.
Mobile. Mobile's the new. I thought 2014 was going to be the year of mobile, but I really think 2015 is the year of mobile, where everything pretty much just goes mobile.
Oh yeah.
So right here.
Yeah.
Love it.
And in fact, mobile. Kind of a side note, mobile is changing the way we think about SEO.
Right.
By the way that we do search on mobile. It's becoming more question-based. So long tail keywords are becoming more like complete sentences now.
Wow. Yeah.
And less the 3 and 4 letter terms, which is interesting. And you can Google that, and Matt Cutts talks all about that in a post that he's written and done a little video thing on.
So we got about 5 more minutes. We're a little bit over here, Rodger, just to let you know. And if any of you guys got to go, since we're past 6:30, feel free to go. But we're going to have about another 5 more minutes.
I got 5 things you guys should notice. You guys should remember. So stick with me.
All
Here
right.
they are. 5. You need to focus. You need to grab their attention with the message. You need to engage them. You need to identify the right people, and you need to take action. And the best resource to read on this, you got your pencils and papers out? It's called The Dragonfly Effect.
The Dragonfly Effect.
The Dragonfly Effect. It's a outstanding book that outlines all of this stuff and gives you a strategy to work from.
Okay. The Dragonfly Effect, small acts create big change?
Yes.
We're talking about, okay. Actually, I found their website. I'll put it on here for everybody in the group chat.
Yep, for sure.
Oh. All right, that's interesting. And I think, you make such good points there, Rodger, with your case study with Roche about how, and this is what I am trying to tell everybody. You get the right people around you. Social media is a slow burn, but you can move it along, and you can reach so many people that you never thought you possibly could.
Right.
For one more thing, Rodger, just because you're such a good mind with this and stuff like that, I got 2 questions. I started this in the fall semester, but I ask my people that come on 2 questions, okay?
Right.
All right, so my first question is, what is your favorite social media platform personally? Like that, not for really business, but like what's your favorite social platform and what do you do on it?
Probably, personally, my favorite social platform is Facebook. And the reason why I like that is because I can share more detailed information on Facebook. And I think it's more visually appealing than the other social networks.
Okay.
And I'm also Gen X, so go Facebook.
I'm Gen X too, whatever. I think some of us are in the class.
Yeah.
All right, second question. If you would have one word of advice of something that has worked, that is great, in the social digital realm, what would you tell these guys?
Focus on message and strategy first, tools second.
So focus on messaging and content, which, content is king first.
Right.
What you're saying, then focus on the tools to help you disseminate that information second.
Right. Message and strategy, then tools.
Cool. Very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. All right, everybody. I think that ends tonight's broadcast. Thank you for being with us again, and we'll see you next Thursday night. Again, if you have any questions, use the hashtag J560 on Twitter. That's the easiest way to get in touch with myself. And if you haven't been searching the hashtags on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, things like that, do that and see what some of your other classmates are doing. So thanks a lot, Rodger. We appreciate you being with us tonight. And
Thank you, Rodger.
everybody have a good night.
Take care. Bye-bye.